My billionaire CEO life left my son lonely at dinner. A black single dad exposed what he needed. I still remember that evening vividly, as if the golden chandeliers of the chandelier were still glowing above me. The five-star restaurant shimmered with opulent light, each crystal reflecting the icy diamonds around my neck. I, Victoria Whitmore, the notoriously cold 32-year-old CEO, entered with my 6-year-old son, Ethan, on my arm. He clutched my expensive designer dress tightly and whispered, "Mom, I'm scared of the crowd." I was heading toward the discreet, very important person section when I stopped dead in my tracks. At a small, inconspicuous corner table sat a weary but smiling man in a faded shirt, expertly cutting pasta for his giggling 7-year-old daughter. Ethan froze beside me, utterly captivated. I frowned. "Ethan, stop staring at that humble table," I said sharply, but he tugged my sleeve and whispered, "Mom, I want to sit next to them." The man was Jerome Williams, 36 years old, exhausted yet happy. His warm brown skin glistened slightly under the golden lights. He was a black single father juggling 2 demanding jobs, a delivery driver by day and a building maintenance man by night, all to provide for his 7-year-old daughter, Maya. Their life was frugal but overflowing with love. Despite their tight budget, Jerome always took Maya out for a special, inexpensive weekend meal to celebrate small victories. Today was extra special. Maya had brought home a perfect report card. The chandelier was far out of their league, but Jerome had found a hidden cafe next door that served excellent pasta. When a confused staff member mistakenly seated them in a quiet, low-profile corner of the main high-end dining room, Jerome didn't correct the error. He was afraid of the shame of being moved. He just wanted Maya to enjoy the fancy lights for one evening. Maya was a ray of sunshine, her bright smile lighting up her beautiful dark face. Curious and remarkably friendly, she was busy admiring the shimmering chandeliers, completely unaware that the most photographed woman in the city was about to walk into her life. I had chosen that evening for a carefully orchestrated soft media reintroduction, a controlled moment of humanity to soften my icy corporate image. I had planned to take the private, very important person table, but Ethan refused to move. "Mom, I want to sit with that girl," he insisted, pulling my sleeve. "She looks so happy." I, a woman whose life revolved around logic and corporate strategy, was stunned by my son's raw, uncharacteristic emotion. He was usually as reserved as I was. In that moment I realized my wealth had bought him silence, not joy. A nervous floor manager approached and whispered urgently, "Madam, that family. They may not be suitable for your seating area. Perhaps the main dining room?" I looked from my son's pleading eyes to the manager's condescending face. My corporate edge returned, cold and decisive. "My son decides," I stated flatly. I walked straight to Jerome's small table. He looked up and nearly choked on his water, suddenly face to face with Victoria Whitmore, the woman whose face graced every business magazine. I skipped pleasantries. "My son wishes to join your table. May we?" Maya beamed with delight at the prospect of a new playmate. "Yes, you can sit right here, miss." Jerome, flustered by the overwhelming scent of expensive perfume and the sheer presence of a billionaire, quickly pulled out a chair for me. In that moment, he felt profoundly disoriented, thinking, "She belongs to another world entirely. Why would she want to sit with us?" The 2 children connected instantly. Ethan, reserved only moments earlier, was captivated by Maya's infectious laughter and easygoing nature. They talked about school, cartoons, and their father's superpowers. Jerome and I, 2 people worlds apart in wealth and status, sat in awkward, profound silence. The only thing we shared was the deep, protective love for our children. As Jerome gently finished cutting Maya's pasta into perfect, manageable pieces, Ethan leaned over the table, eyes fixed on the task. I watched Jerome's hands, strong, dark, scarred hands that had clearly known hard work. I realized that Jerome, despite his modest jobs, provided a fundamental tactile connection that my highly paid assistants and nannies simply could not replicate. My world was one of delegation, his was one of personal care. The contrast was devastatingly clear. Then Ethan asked softly, his voice filled with genuine need, "Sir, can you cut mine for me too?" I froze. My son had never asked anyone except his full-time nanny to perform such a simple, loving act. He trusted this stranger instantly, recognizing pure kindness. Powerful clients at nearby tables noticed the scene, the aloof billionaire sitting awkwardly with a visibly poor black single father. Whispers circulated, sharp and judgmental. Is she having a crisis? A literal PR stunt? Direct charity? I despised gossip. I tensed, ready to end the dinner. But Ethan's small hand gripped my arm. Mom, I like him. He's like a superhero. Maya, ever loyal, chimed in. My daddy is a superhero. He can fix anything. He even fixed a whole apartment building's furnace last week. I found myself smiling, a genuine human smile I rarely allowed, at the children's innocent defense of Jerome. It was unscripted warmth my cold world desperately lacked. Jerome, aware of the growing spectacle, ordered the cheapest item on the menu, knowing he couldn't afford more. Ethan, watching Maya eat with delight, declared cheerfully, I want the same dish as Maya. The waiter, noting Jerome's worn shirt and cheap watch, looked him up and down with contempt, his gaze lingering on Jerome's dark skin. Can you afford that, sir? He sneered. That is a premium dish. We don't accept charity cases. My eyes flashed with cold fury. I cut the waiter off, voice dropping several degrees. Bring 2 more servings and send the check to my corporate account immediately. The waiter recoiled, stammered an apology, and hurried away. A prominent society woman, Mrs. Thornton, couldn't contain her spite. Loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear, she said, I thought the Whitmore dynasty dined with the elite, not janitors. What a spectacle, Victoria. Your public image will never recover from this slumming. Jerome lowered his face, accustomed to such casual contempt. The words stung like a physical blow, a constant reminder of his struggle as a black man in spaces where he was never meant to belong. But Maya was furious. She stood on her chair, small chest swelling with indignation, braided hair bouncing. My daddy is better than everyone here. He helps people. You are all mean. Ethan immediately stood beside her. Mr. Jerome is better than all the boring drivers at my house. He knows how to smile. I watched the 2 children form a small, fierce, protective army around Jerome. It was the most passionate thing I had ever seen my son do. A surge of loyalty rose in me. This janitor was the most honorable man in the room. Then my personal assistant rushed in, eyes wide with panic. Miss Whitmore, emergency board meeting. Someone is staging a corporate coup. They have evidence. The entire restaurant turned to watch. My face, usually composed, went pale. My hand trembled uncontrollably. The pressure and exhaustion of fighting for control finally shattered me. Jerome instantly recognized the signs, acute stress leading to hypoglycemic collapse. His long-dormant trauma training kicked in. Without hesitation, he grabbed a glass of water and a packet of sugar from a nearby service tray and pressed them into my hand. His movements were swift and precise, the actions of a man who once made life-or-death decisions in seconds. The floor staff whispered in astonishment. How did he know before her assistant even noticed? He just fixed the billionaire. I drank the sweet water. Minutes later, my breathing stabilized. I looked up at Jerome, voice trembling with shock and gratitude. Why? Why did you help me? You didn't owe me anything after the way they treated you. His deep brown eyes stayed steady, focused on Ethan clutching my arm in terror. Because your son needs his mother alive, he said simply, and no mother, regardless of who she is, should collapse in front of her child. As color returned to my cheeks, a profound realization washed over me. Surrounded by people who relied on my wealth and power, the only person who saw me as a vulnerable human being was the man everyone else had dismissed. He didn't see the CEO or the charity case. He saw a mother in danger. That simple humanity was alien to my world. In my moment of greatest weakness, my enormous wealth had been utterly useless. Once I was stable, I quietly ushered Jerome and the children into the private, very important person lounge, a sanctuary of leather and mahogany, away from prying eyes and cameras. Ethan and Maya were already playing tag, their innocent laughter echoing through the opulent room. I sat opposite Jerome and finally let my guard down. I sighed, the sound heavy with the weight of my empire. They're trying to discredit me by spreading rumors that I'm not mentally or physically fit to run the company. They needed a medical crisis, and I just gave them one on camera. Jerome looked into his teacup. That's why you experienced the acute stress response. It wasn't the food, it was the fear of losing control. You're running on empty, Miss Whitmore. I looked up, surprised. You read that accurately. What is your background, Jerome? You speak like a therapist or a strategist. The way you acted was professional. He hesitated. Then Ethan ran in, pulling at his sleeve. Tell the story about the time you saved someone, Uncle Jerome. The one about the smoke. My curiosity piqued. Saved someone? Jerome let out a long breath and decided to share the truth he had kept hidden for years. I was an emergency trauma doctor in the military, he revealed, voice pained. I specialized in combat field medicine and acute psychological triage. That's why I recognized your symptoms instantly. He paused, the weight of his secret heavy. But I left the field after my wife died from a surgical error. I couldn't save her. I decided I didn't deserve to save anyone else. He explained further, voice raspy with old grief. It wasn't just a mistake. I was deployed, consulting on a life-saving procedure miles away. Her doctor called me mid-surgery for advice. I gave guidance thinking I was helping, but the procedure failed. I was saving strangers while being unavailable for the one person who mattered most, even by phone. My dedication to being the best trauma doctor created a distance that killed her. So I stopped. I traded saving the world for securing Maya's small one, where I could never be too far away. My eyes softened. For the first time I saw the man, not the maintenance worker, a man who had traded global contribution for quiet penance. Then the first twist came. Ethan, laughing moments earlier, suddenly stopped running. His face went white, he gripped his chest. I panicked. Ethan, what's wrong? Jerome immediately took the boy's wrist, checked his pulse. His heart rate is spiking. He's having an acute panic attack triggered by seeing his primary caregiver collapse. Ethan hyperventilated, tears streaming. Mom, I'm scared you'll get hurt. I'm scared you'll disappear. All the nannies say you work too much and one day you won't come back. I tried to hold him, but he recoiled slightly, body rigid with fear. I realized I didn't know how to console my own son. I managed billions, yet I couldn't calm him. My sense of failure was absolute. Jerome scooped the terrified boy into his arms, holding him close to his broad chest. It's okay. I'm right here. You're safe. Breathe with me. He demonstrated the rhythmic breathing he once used for soldiers in shock, grounding Ethan with simple sensory questions. Ethan, can you feel my shirt? What color is it? Count the lights above us. Minutes later, Ethan's breathing normalized. He relaxed fully against Jerome's chest in complete physical surrender and whispered, You smell like clean air, Uncle Jerome. I watched, tears welling in my eyes. Jerome, the single dad, holding my fragile son with instant, profound trust. My wealth had robbed Ethan of the simple security Jerome provided naturally. Those few minutes of physical comfort were more powerful than years of purchased childcare. The second twist followed immediately. My assistant burst back in, phone to her ear, yelling, Miss Whitmore, the video of you collapsing is going viral. The board is meeting to invoke the fitness clause. They'll strip you of your position. I sank into the chair, devastated. They'll use this public weakness against me. It's over. Jerome stood, voice decisive, the voice of a man who once made critical decisions under fire. You are not a cold CEO, Miss Whitmore. You are a mother, and they are using your motherhood against you. I broke down, tears flowing freely. No one has ever said that to me before. Everyone just sees the corporation. He placed a steady hand on my shoulder. Let me help you. You don't fight a coup with power, you fight it with truth. He quickly analyzed the timing of the board meeting, my assistant's sudden appearance, the immediate leak. He saw it not as business but as a hostile tactical maneuver. The person running this needs public outrage to pressure external shareholders. The swiftness of the leak and your assistant's panic prove coordination. The head of operations, Mr. Crawford, has always wanted your chair. He hired your assistant to gather compromising material. That leak was intentional. He laid out the exact strategy to reframe the narrative. Don't deny the collapse, own it as a mother's exhaustion while fighting a hostile takeover designed to damage her family's legacy. Turn Crawford's weapon into my testament of sacrifice. I was astonished. You're thinking 10 steps ahead of my legal team. You could be my chief strategist and medical advisor rolled into one. You see the human factor in the cold math of power. He shook his head. I only know one thing. Your son needs you to be strong. We turn this weakness into your greatest strength. Your humanity. He turned to the children. Kids, Mommy and Daddy have a big mission. We need to save the company so Mommy can keep buying you all the pasta you want. The children cheered, fear replaced by purpose. Ethan hugged Jerome's waist. Please don't leave us, Uncle Jerome. I need you to stay with Mommy. Utterly humbled, I invited Jerome and Maya back to my mansion for dinner as a formal thank you. Ethan greeted Maya at the door like a long-lost sister. They ran off to explore the grand house, their combined laughter filling halls that had always echoed with emptiness. They discovered Ethan's colossal playroom full of unopened expensive toys. Maya immediately showed him how to build a secret base with old blankets and cushions, an exercise in imagination Ethan had never known. The mansion, once a cold monument to my success, suddenly felt like a home. Jerome entered the magnificent living room, clearly out of place, adjusting his collar nervously. This place, it doesn't belong to me. I offered a gentle, genuine smile. Tonight it does. Please, just be yourself. Dinner was the opposite of the restaurant. Warm, relaxed, intimate. For the first time in years, I laughed wholeheartedly, my cold mask gone. Maya entertained us with stories of her dad's superhero moments, fixing a burst water heater at midnight, rescuing a fat, stuck neighborhood cat. Ethan listened, captivated, laughing until he nearly fell off his chair. I realized my life was built on billion-dollar transactions, while Jerome's was built on human connection and genuine service. Later, watching Jerome in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, strong, dark arms helping the chef plate food, a strange, unfamiliar warmth spread through my chest. I saw the competent doctor blending seamlessly with the humble worker, a complete man. In the library, sipping tea, I asked, voice tinged with envy, "How do you manage to be so present? I have entire teams for my son, yet I miss everything. I delegate comfort, joy, basic care. I delegate Ethan." He smiled sadly, his warm smile lighting his handsome dark face. "I don't delegate because I can't afford to, but more importantly, I don't delegate because I learned the hard way that presence is the most precious thing we own. Every time I cut Maya's pasta or fix a broken toy, I'm securing a memory with her. My time is my only wealth. You have infinite financial capital, Victoria. I have infinite time capital for my daughter." Ethan tugged my hand, eyes wide with admiration. "Mom, Uncle Jerome is just like a father to me. He makes things okay." My son's simple statement struck the deepest chord in my heart. He was voicing his need for the stability and masculine warmth my work had never allowed me to provide. I led Jerome to the empty terrace overlooking the city lights. "For years I believed I could buy everything my son needed," I confessed softly. "Tonight I realized I bought him loneliness. You gave him 10 minutes of belonging my entire fortune couldn't purchase." He nodded slowly. "Money creates distance, Victoria. Love closes it. You just have to choose which you value more." I walked to the edge, gazing at the city. I spent my life fighting to be seen as a warrior. I built a wall of ice to protect myself from the world and my own grief. But that wall didn't keep danger out. It kept love out. Tonight you didn't just save my company. You saved my heart from freezing over. At the mansion's massive oak door, I stopped him, looking directly into his eyes, not as a CEO, but as a woman making a plea. "Will you come to the company tomorrow? I need someone I can absolutely trust by my side. I need your clarity, Jerome. I need the man who sees the person behind the title." He looked down at me, a woman broken by success yet radiating new hope, and nodded. "For your son, I will be there. I promise to protect the woman he needs." The next morning, Jerome walked into the emergency shareholders meeting at my side. Maya and Ethan walked ahead, hands linked, a picture of innocent united strength. This time we were not hiding. They were my foundation. The tension was suffocating. The conspirator, Mr. Crawford, smirked, ready to present the viral video as proof of my incompetence. Jerome stepped forward calmly and commandeered the screen. With the precision of a former trauma strategist, he broke down the video, proved it was deliberately filmed by an assistant hired by Crawford, and showed the leak was timed for maximum damage. He presented medical evidence that my collapse was temporary stress-induced hypoglycemia, not a chronic condition. Then he shifted to philosophy. "This is not just a medical report," he told the shareholders, voice ringing with authority. "It is a character analysis. Mr. Crawford used Miss Whitmore's moment of human weakness, her exhaustion, to attempt a hostile takeover. This company is built on strength, and Miss Whitmore's greatest strength is not cold logic but the effort she exerts for her family and this company." Crawford sputtered, face red. "This is outrageous slander. Who is this maintenance man?" Jerome produced a digital trail exposing the conspiracy. Shareholders turned on Crawford instantly. He was escorted out, reputation and career ruined. Mrs. Thornton, the woman from the restaurant, stood, voice now respectful. "Who is this man? His competence is stunning." I looked at Jerome, eyes filled with gratitude and newfound love. "He is Jerome Williams, the only person who never turned his back on me. He saved my life and reminded me how to be a mother. From today, he is my chief strategy and wellness officer. His job is to remind this entire corporation of the human factor we forgot." The board, witnessing his quiet power, loyalty, and brilliance, offered him a permanent position as chief health and security advisor. Jerome refused the standard terms. "I will only accept if Maya and Ethan are part of the arrangement. My schedule must allow me to remain a fully present father. They are my priority, not a negotiation point. My presence here is a commitment to better work-life balance for every parent in this company." Ethan hugged his leg. "Please stay forever, Uncle Jerome. We need you." I looked at him, defenses finally gone. "I want you to stay too, Jerome, as my partner in every sense of the word. We can build a life that prioritizes our children's laughter over corporate titles." Maya clasped Ethan's hand, giggling. "So are we brother and sister now? We can share a room in the big house." Jerome laughed, tears in his eyes. "I think we just might be. Fate had a different plan for all four of us." He accepted the role, not for prestige, but to honor presence and purpose. In the final moment, I took Jerome's hand. A silent promise passed between two people who found love and purpose where they least expected it. We were no longer the cold CEO and the struggling single dad. We were two parents, united. The children ran ahead, laughter carrying on the wind. The setting sun cast 4 long, intertwined shadows across the pavement, a new unconventional family created not by blood or wealth, but by shared vulnerability, earned respect, and unconditional love. As I stood on the terrace that night, the city lights blurring beneath a thin veil of tears I no longer tried to hide, I finally let myself feel everything I had frozen out for years. For the first time since I was 25, since the day I buried my own parents and swore I would never again be weak enough to lose someone I loved, I was terrified in a way that had nothing to do with stock prices, hostile takeovers, or tabloid headlines. I was terrified of how much I already needed Jerome Williams. I needed the steadiness of his scarred hands that had cut pasta from Maya, and then, without hesitation, held my son through a panic attack. I needed the calm baritone that could quiet a battlefield or a frightened 6-year-old with the same gentle authority. I needed the way he looked at me, not at the billionaire, not at the ice queen the world loved to hate, but at Victoria, the exhausted mother who had forgotten how to breathe unless a boardroom was watching. I was ashamed, too. Ashamed that it took collapsing in public for me to realize I had been starving Ethan of the only thing no private jet, no trust fund, no army of nannies could buy, the simple, irreplaceable certainty that someone would always be fully, undeniably there. Jerome gave my son that in 10 minutes. I had failed to give it in 6 years. And beneath the shame was a longing so fierce it frightened me. I wanted to learn how to be the woman who deserved to stand next to this man. I wanted to wake up to the smell of coffee he brewed while cutting Maya's pancakes into perfect stars. I wanted lazy Sunday mornings where the 4 of us built blanket forts instead of empires. I wanted to feel his calloused palm against mine, not just in moments of crisis, but in ordinary, quiet seconds when the world wasn't watching. Most of all, I felt hope. Fragile, unfamiliar, almost too bright to look at directly. Hope that the wall of ice I had built to protect myself had not killed the part of me capable of loving and being loved in return. Hope that a heart could still thaw after years of deliberate frost. Hope that family was not something you inherited or purchased, but something you chose every single day in small, stubborn acts of presence. When Jerome took my hand at the end of that long night, his fingers threading through mine as naturally as if they had always belonged there, I felt the last shard of ice inside my chest crack and fall away. I was no longer the untouchable Victoria Whitmore CEO. I was simply a woman who had been saved, not by money, not by power, but by a man who saw my breaking and refused to look away. And for the first time in forever, I was not afraid of tomorrow. I was impatient for it, because tomorrow meant waking up to children's laughter echoing through halls that used to feel like a museum. Tomorrow meant board meetings where Jerome would sit at my right, reminding everyone, reminding me, that profit without humanity is just a colder kind of poverty. Tomorrow meant coming home to a man who had already proven he would catch me when I fell, not because I was worth billions, but because I was Ethan's mother and, if he would let me, because I could learn to be his home, too. I am still learning. Some days the old instincts rise, the need to control, to delegate, to armor myself in frost. But every time I feel them creeping back, I look across the breakfast table at Jerome cutting Maya's and Ethan's pancakes into matching stars, and I choose differently. I choose warmth. I choose presence. I choose the beautiful, messy, imperfect life we are building together, one shared sunrise at a time. I never knew a heart could feel this full without bursting. I never knew love could be this quiet and this loud all at once, and I will spend the rest of my life being grateful that fate sat us at the same humble table on an ordinary evening and refused to let us leave as strangers.